Well, I guess the day has finally come. Hello, everyone. Hey, my Paradoxians and my Ori Cordians, and every Ori community member in between. So, we finally have reached the day that I didn't honestly think would happen for a very long time, because the implications that mods and people have given in the past kind of just implied that like the server would never really ever stop being used, and like we wouldn't be here in this situation. And now that it's here, it's kind of surreal, I can't lie. Now I'm not gonna give a ton of disclaimers like I normally do, because I don't want this to be a rambling video. But I will say, I know that to some, that this will seem just over dramatic, like, oh, it's a Discord server. Yeah, it's a Discord server, like, why is this such a big deal? Well, it's a big deal, at least to me and several others, because this place, it changed our livelihoods as we know it. Well, not livelihoods, but our lives. A lot of us came out very different. This server is what got me into art, it's what got some of my best friends into art, and various others into art. As just to list an example, there's various other things, like it just changing the course of mental health and how they feel regarding their health. Like, they might have improved, might have worsened. I mean, it's just, the server has just changed a lot of lives, for better or for worse, but mostly for better, at least from what I can tell. And seeing it go away, I mean, it's not going away. It's basically going to be archived until Microsoft ends up having a third Ori game. Point is, this server has changed so much about me and many others. And that is why it's so important. So seeing this day is polarizing for me. Like, there's a new side, a new like spin-off of this server that is launched. So it's not like all that is just gonna magically go away. I mean, it'll be continued in another place, but this place, this specific place for me, was home. I don't know how many share that sentiment, but for me, it's home. It's a second home. And I mean, I've had my grievances with it, even in current day, but at the bottom line, it's been home for me, and it's like the only Discord server that I've been consistent in my activity with. You know, seeing all of the love letters that have spawned into that channel that was created for, you know, just the goodbyes, it just tells me that despite the issues we've run into in the server, we we still have very fond memories of it. And, well, that to me, just, it was so heartwarming reading all those messages. Like, it's not, I'm making it sound like it's my server, it's not, obviously, but like, still, it's wonderful just seeing something unequivocally positive for once. Like, like I said, there's downsides, but seeing something positive coming out finally with the server is just a breath of fresh air. Because, I don't know, often for me, all I hear is the negative side of things, because I feel people often forget the good bits and, you know, the memories and why you fell in love with it in the first place. Yeah, it's had its downsides, but so does everywhere else. And I just feel that is often forgotten. And it was just nice to see that it wasn't completely forgotten by everyone. So while this isn't the intended effect from everyone, I greatly appreciate the positivity in as we approach Oricord's final days for activity. At least, most likely. All that almost 7 minutes aside, the point of this video, aside from what I've said earlier, is I want this to kind of just be a retry of my experience with Oricord. It's, for one thing, this won't be over an hour long. My first attempt at giving my experience with the Ori community, I personally feel I should have waited, because I was not in the community all that long. I was just kind of feeling a little desperate and in a rush, because at the time, an artist known as Omega Painter was leaving for 2 years, and I wanted to, I don't know, do something special. But I kind of just screwed that opportunity up, in my opinion. After rewatching it with a friend a while ago, I realized that just so much of it was completely irrelevant to the point of the video. And I just feel I did a disservice to the community. Granted, a portion of it had my heart in the right place, but most of it was just rambling about nothing. And I want to rectify that. This is obviously not going to be a perfect video, nor is it going to please everybody, and so on and so forth. But I'm hoping that this second try will be much better. Where to begin? Well, I loved Ori since 2015. I discovered Ori in this is probably a very weird place to discover it, but Fine Brothers. There was a video they did way back in the day where they had people react to Ori and the Blind Forest prologue. And from there, I was stunned. I was like, whoa, I've never seen a game like this before. And up until that point, I didn't see a game, or I hadn't seen games that were so focused, or had such a focused emphasis on like being artsy, like being very strong in the presentation of looks and whatnot. Obviously things like, you know, like Call of Duty and whatnot existed, and they had realistic graphics and everyone raved over that, but for me, I raved over this. And from there, I immediately looked up a playthrough of the game and watched it and just fell in love. And was saddened by the fact that I couldn't play it for several years because I didn't have access to a PC or an Xbox. Long while after that, Will-O-Wisps was announced, and I was excited by that. But given it was many years off, I kind of forgot about its existence until I discovered an Ori Terraria mod and played the heck out of that. And from there, I relearned that Discord was a thing and decided I would make an account again. I had an experience with Discord before, but that's getting off topic. And so I made a Discord account and went to the server for that Terraria mod. And from there, I learned that Oricord is a thing. And I was very shy and very anxious, not wanting to join it for reasons that were really stupid and I'm not going to get into. Basically, anxiety and shyness. Don't let them rule over you, kids. They ruin your chances for things. But eventually, I swallowed my anxiety and shyness and joined. This was, I think, towards the tail end of my high school years, but I don't remember exactly. Either way, I joined and was immediately drawn in by Art Gallery. it gave me a bit of insight into my interests, namely digital art. My first major inspiration, besides a certain comic, Omega Painter and Shupa Mikey. First Omega Painter, though. When I saw just how skillful he was at drawing these spirits, because at the time he was doing, I believe it was the Nibel project, where he was drawing a bunch of individual arts for different spirit OCs at the time. And my goodness, I was blown away by those. Nowadays, comparing those to Omega's recent stuff, there is certainly improvement. However, those are still fantastic, and I still greatly respect those works. And, well, it's because of that I was like, wow, I kind of want to get into this art community. From there, I interacted with the server, and I got to know some people. Some great, others, but that just comes with the territory of any sort of community. But regardless, the point is, I got very invested in art just from that moment. At first, I had a bit of an interest in it, but from there, I was like all in. And when I learned the very next year that free art programs existed and they weren't super daunting to get into, I felt greatly encouraged to go for it. And so I did. And I have Asimtrap, Snuggle, Lemon, Mom, Omni-Mom, whatever you know them as. They gave me that push. I could talk about my art journey all day long, but that's not the point of this video. Even though it technically ties into the community, that would just be really off topic. All you need to know is because of that art community and just how nice the people were, I wanted to be a part of that community. So from there, I made my spirit OC, Luke. Back then, he was known as Blade, but that's because I was kind of lazy, but also just remembered a high school friend's name being Blade, and I was like, that's such a cool name, I'll go with it. And it was cool for a while, and well, now it's not. And it has the unfortunate side effect of people calling me Blade, but I don't really care that much. It is what it is. Regardless, I made Luke, and that, to me, at the time, like, I feel like that is where I really started feeling a part of the community, because I had an insert to express myself fully with. And I am so glad I did that, because having Luke and just feeling more confident to interact and whatnot helped me meet so many fantastic people. I mean, just to list a few: Kirby Pie, Neki, Spicy. The list is literally as long as a cartoon villain's contract for their future plans. So yeah, I won't list them all, but just know that I have many great friends that I've met throughout my time in the community. And I just want to say thank you all for making my experience a mostly good one, because it could have, if it were a bad first impression, something tells me if I ended up going into art, it would have taken a much different direction. And I'm glad it took the direction it did, because had it not, I would have missed out on so many great opportunities. Not trying to make those opportunities sound like they're larger than life, or I like became a movie star or something like that, because I didn't. But I did get to draw some physical items and, you know, have them printed and whatnot for certain events. I don't know, just something about that fills me with a bit of pride. Not an overly boastful pride, but, you know, it's nice seeing your art in a physical manner. Even if it's not like the greatest drawing in the world or whatever, it's yours. And you drew that, and you got it printed at a good quality. And it was just such a great feeling, and I thank you all for helping me reach levels like that. I've still got a long way to go, but I will forever cherish what I've made. Sometime after the game released, or sorry, Will-O-The-Wisps released. The game, this magical game that no one knows. Will-O-The-Wisps released, and man, finally getting to play that for the first time. Y'all, I mean, just go watch my first video on Will-O-The-Wisps, and you'll just... I was in a VC with a bunch of buds, and just... we were all, like, freaking out over the prologue, and we fell in love. And, man, if there's one thing I would love to relive, it's replaying that game for the first time again. But, obviously, going back would hinder what I have now. I would have to relive my life, and I don't want to do that. So, but besides the point, that's besides the point. The game came out, and unfortunately, this is where my experience was not so positive for like the next, I don't know, like year and some change. Like I think it was 7 months plus, something like that. We ran into what is infamously referred to. I don't know if I necessarily coined the term, but I definitely used it a lot, and people used it after me. So I don't know if I coined that, but I helped make it popular. I'll say that much. The infamous Flame War period. Wadua Flame War period, to be specific. That was a period where I just saw the absolute worst in people. I also made my own share of mistakes. I'm not gonna act like I'm some magical saint like
I did nothing wrong. I was an innocent little baby.
But even as I made my own mistakes, pretty much everything I was attempting to do was be more positive during the period. More positive about the game and whatnot, because to me, I felt it was an overly negative mess. I still think that to this day. And I mean, we had incidents like people literally messaging, I don't know about messaging, but at least like talking directly to one of the developers and giving them a lot of crap in a very rude manner. And that just, to me, that was probably one of the worst offenders of the Flame War. I'm obviously not going to list names. They know who they are and they've moved on. It is what it is. But stuff like that occurred throughout this period. People were not happy. You are entitled to your own opinion. That is not the problem. It's how it was handled that is the problem. And all of it, most of it, was handled over dramatically. It was an absolutely miserable time for the community, especially like the first 2 to 3 months. Those were by far the worst. And that was probably the worst time of my life, coupled with 2020 being terrible as a whole because COVID happened. And that just, I wasn't initially affected by it because I was like, oh, I have to stay indoors. Okay. But the events of the Flame War and life outside of that at the time, I was just miserable. I cannot picture a worse time other than, I guess, when I was borderline depressed, but again, that's off topic. But yeah, I am just so glad that we are over that point. Again, clarifying, if you dislike Will-O-The-Wisps, that's not the problem, it's how it was handled back at the time. Because while it is fine to dislike the game, the dislike for the game was incredibly overblown. The Wadua Flame War period was absolutely terrible. But past 5 months, it started lifting finally. Well, past 3 months, it started lifting a little. And then 5 months in, it lifted a lot. And then 2 months later, it more or less lifted completely. I mean, there were still some issues here and there, but it wasn't anything to write home about. We overcame that period. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of people as a result of that period. Yeah, this is why war is not fun, kids. Even though this wasn't like physical war or anything like that, metaphorically speaking, it certainly was. It divided the community a lot, allowed a lot of toxic negativity that kind of just ruined people's moods. And that's really the main crux of the problem with why this period was awful. But after that, I'm just going to be perfectly open, and I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but I'm going to be perfectly open and vulnerable about my thoughts after this point, because the Flame War period, pretty much everyone agrees that that period was just miserable. But I'm going to err further thoughts on the community here that I kept behind closed doors a bit. I talked to like a few friends about, and then I like hinted at here and there, but I'm going to just throw it all out. After the Flame War period, we kind of just moved into our own side servers, which was kind of saddening because Oricord was kind of less the hub for everyone to go to. People still were there, but for the most part, Oricord essentially became this, you know, like for certain TV shows, for one season, they'll be like, all right, cool, we have this great cast of actors for these characters and whatnot. And then in the next season, they completely switch out the cast for another cast. It's like, it's basically like that. Oricord constantly would have members in it that are there for a year or maybe less, and then they get swapped out by new members completely. There were a few that just stayed and it was consistent, but for the most part, people kept switching in and out. It was like freaking Pokemon. It was kind of depressing. Well, no, that part was kind of funny. That was just hilarious. It was depressing in that we were losing people in the server, but it was also just kind of funny, that analogy. But the part where I wanted to be more open is leaning more into just negativity and whatnot. I grew exhausted, not just tired, exhausted of the constant negative opinions towards Oricord. Now, again, you are entitled to your opinion. If you don't like the server, that's fine. You don't have to like it. However, treating the server as the worst thing ever was a very common trend. And trust me when I say this, I'm not the only person who was tired of it. Like, this was, and not necessarily to this day, but it's still a pretty recent issue that me and a lot of my friends have had an issue with, where people have had bad experiences in the Ori community, and so they treat it, and Oricord especially, they scrutinize it heavily, saying things like attention seeking is at an all-time high here, it's absolutely terrible, and blah blah blah, and like, you know, stuff like that. I'm not gonna list everything, but attention seeking is one example of a thing that people would basically say Oricord is the worst for. However, I beg to differ as someone who has been in various servers. Oricord and the Ori community is far from the worst example of stuff like that. Now, I'm not gonna act like Oricord and the community is some summer love child that has never done anything wrong, because I have my problems with it. Ironically, this being one of them. I have my problems with it besides that. And I agree that it is not perfect and it has its issues, or I guess had its issues because it's going to be expiring soon. But treating it as the worst thing ever and constantly expressing that like a broken record, not on the daily, but very frequently. There were like periods where there was a break in how much it was scrutinized, and then it came back with a vengeance. Yeah, you can understand why that was mentally exhausting. Now you might just say, ignore it. What do you think I was doing this entire time? And yet I was still very irritated by it. It didn't matter if I or anyone I knew ignored it, because we could go to Twitter, especially recently, and people would complain about it over and over and over again. Now, some may use that as a snarky remark to say, well, I guess that just lends to the problem that it's a problematic server. Well, in my opinion, post commentary here to save the day, because I frankly told these points terribly going forward. What I'm trying to say is that your snarky comments add nothing to solve the problem. And ironically, it just makes you look worse, because I mentioned earlier, when referring to Will-o'-the-Wisps, aka Wadawa, that oversaturated negativity is just making things worse. It's making everything mentally exhausting, as I already mentioned. And there are several examples in history where dogpiling negativity onto something doesn't necessarily indicate that it means it's bad. You want a recent example? Elden Ring's DLC. It is constantly being review bombed for being too hard, when that's literally the whole design of the genre, the game, and everything in that Souls-like genre. It's supposed to be hard. I've recorded this like 4 times. You can tell I'm going a little crazy trying to explain this point over and over again, but hopefully that's it. The next topic that lends into my experience with this community: big artists. Something that I always felt that I wanted to get a chance to do was simply talking to like more popular artists and whatnot on a, like a more human level. Ideally a one-on-one level, because from there's no like constant talking to everyone in chats and whatnot. And I mean, I get the chance to know them as a person, and also show them that while there are a lot of people who look at popular artists and go like, wow, at least in the horror community, they go like, wow, they're so cool, I would love to get art from them, and like all the stereotypes that we've seen on Twitter. I wanted to show that that mold can be broken, and that not everyone is the same way. And I am very, very, very blessed to have the opportunity to have had the opportunity to have done that several times. Like, I'm very shocked that I got to do a couple times, because some artists were just, for me, just so out of my league. Like, I look at myself and I'm like, dang, bro, like, you're on Mount Everest. But like getting to speak with them and, I don't know, connect with them, and for some of them grow to be closer buds with them. Not like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get married. Nothing, no, nothing like that. We're not like that close, but closer, and getting their trust and whatnot. Because I don't know, for me, I want them to see that not all of us are just seeking free art. And also, those popular artists are some of the most fun people that I've interacted with. One in particular especially, but sadly they aren't the most active, so I'm very sad. But they're a cool person, and I adore them. They are very sweet, and they deserve the world. But so do the other popular artists, I swear. I'm not gonna harp on them forever. But yeah, I am just so glad that they gave me the time of day. Like, I know that sounds really stupid because, well, they're just human beings. Like, of course they would. But, like, I mean, like I said, I wanted to break the mold of just aiming for free art. And, I mean, a few of said popular artists have expressed to me that they had, like, their concerns with that. And that's why I feel blessed to have been able to communicate these feelings to them. Because, I don't know, I just like being friends with a lot of people. It's kind of to my detriment in a lot of ways, but I mean, hey, at least I spread the love of God, and that's all I care about, planting them seeds, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, that is honestly a big reason why I like reaching out with artists I may admire and whatnot. Not just because, oh, they draw cool things, but because I'm willing to bet they have cool personalities underneath. Obviously, it's not always going to be the case. Run into a few interesting characters, but hey, it's cool. We ball. But in general, they, in my experience, just have had just very fun personalities, and it's been great being friends with them. Hi, if one of you are watching this video, you're a cool person and awesome, great, yeah. I think another point to mention regarding this community, because it was such a, for lack of a better term, cultural phenomenon. Like, for the server specifically, not for the world, but for the server, it was a very crazy thing to happen. Because as the server got bigger, it became more and more of a task for this person. And that is none other than the boy, our wholesome friend himself, Hazak. Or Hazak the Heartfelt Spirit, as he is named, or was named. I don't know if he's still named that, but he was named it on our record. Hazak the Heartfelt Spirit. Yeah, so heartfelt is an understatement. This guy is one of the most wholesome people I've ever met ever. Period. Real life or not. He is one of the most wholesome people ever. So every day for a while, as in, I think it was like 2 to 3 years since the server's creation. I don't remember the exact time, but it was a long time. He would basically go into art discussion, or well, he would look at the the art posted from a certain time frame. I don't know, say like the first art piece posted that day was at 12. He would look at that art piece and then look at the most recent one at the time of his typing and go into art discussion and basically compliment every... No. I need to give emphasis. Every single art piece. You might think that's a very simple task, and you know, it sounds simple on paper, but yeah, forget the fact that this server has many members. I mean, today it has over 10,000. And it had a lot of members even back in the day. So take that as you will. He had to compliment several art pieces daily while juggling IRL life. This man is one of the most dedicated people at being wholesome that I have ever met. At some point, he stopped doing it because it just became so tiring to do, which obviously, complimenting every single art piece from any given time frame is a big undertaking, especially in a public server for a very popular indie game, which is no longer an indie game, but whatever, I'm calling it an indie game. So yeah, if you really want to tell me, well, this person's more wholesome, this person's more wholesome, yeah, I don't think any of the wholesome people that you will list to me have gone into an art discussion and complimented every single art piece daily for years. I know that someone's going to probably find something and refute it in the comments, but whatever. In my opinion, he's one of the most wholesome people, and you can fight me if you are really so inclined. And I just, you know, I won't give in to your decrees and demands. But yeah, Hazek, like I said, he's a cultural phenomenon. Pretty much everyone, not so much in the modern day, but like when he was doing it, and like even sometime after he stopped doing it, everyone knew Hazek and everyone knew him for that. And I mean, not that he doesn't deserve it, because holy crap, he 100% deserves that recognition. It's so much so that after he stopped doing them, people honored his legacy by drawing wholesome walls, literal wholesome walls. It was hilarious and adorable because we got to see more wonderful art of his cute spirit, which we don't see much of anymore, and it makes me very, very sad that we don't, because I adore that creature. But he has other characters that are cute as well, so hey, there's a compromise. But in all seriousness, we love you, Hazek, and thanks for all you did back when you did it. The last point that I feel is appropriate, I want to talk about the Ori games themselves, because I feel like if I didn't, that would kind of be criminal, considering, I mean, this is the Ori community. Like, how could I not talk about the Ori games? When I first saw Ori in the Blind Forest, and then I played it eventually, I saw it as a perfect experience, and I still think it is a fantastic experience. But I don't see it as, like, perfect today, just due to, like, a few minor things. However, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is what I consider a perfect experience. I know people are gonna, like, be like, what? Nothing's perfect. To me, it is. Even if it isn't, like, obviously nothing can be perfect. To me, it is. And, I mean, no amount of story issues people have or gameplay issues people have will change my mind on that. From the moment I played Blind Forest, or watched a playthrough of Blind Forest, the moment I played it, I just fell in love with Ori. And once Will of the Wisps came out, I felt a different kind of love. Like, I felt, like, I don't know, there were so many things about the way, I guess, it ended and the way it built up, and especially the music and visuals, I just got so much of a personal connection to it. It's indescribable. I think the thing that I connect the most with is just how this story just shows how selfless someone can be, to the point that they are willing to let go of everything they knew just to save a land that they aren't even born in. Not to mention to save the life of something that's been trying to kill them. Not just once, but twice. There might even be more examples that I'm forgetting, but I'm pretty sure twice. This character is the perfect image of selflessness. Like, even though, at least just how I interpret it, even though Shriek was beyond saving just due to her own choices, like, I don't think anyone is beyond saving. The only way someone can be beyond saving is if they choose to be that way. And Shriek, unfortunately, chose to be that way. Because when Ori saved them, they could have... Sorry. They could have just accepted the love they wanted to give them. Now, obviously, for some, that's easier than others. And I'd say for Shriek, just due to her trauma, that was difficult. But even still, Ori literally saved her life despite all that she did to him. And she still just could not accept it. And, well, it's because of that she was beyond saving. Because she chose to be beyond saving. Because she really let herself be consumed by her anger and grief from being rejected due to the way she was born. And the fact that Ori was just so selfless, like even with all the times that she tried to kill them. And the fact that Ori, his selflessness was there from the very beginning, from the moment he saved Gumo's life, even though he tried to, again, kill him. He was selfless to him because he cares about the life of the forests. I say forests because that includes Newin. I could ramble all day, but the bottom line is Ori is literally the epitome of selfless. Yeah, he's a Jesus figure, I'd say, just because of what he ends up sacrificing. And, you can read the Bible, blah, blah, blah. Not like a complete Jesus figure, but like in terms of the sacrifice that he made. Man, I did not expect to talk that much about the game, but I rarely get to, because like I said, a lot of the conversations are just about how they dislike the game, and I just can't. I'm good at this point. But yeah, that's probably the part that I connect with most, and I think that's everything though. Now, before we end, this ain't only my experience. I'm not the only person who had meaningful experiences from this place. So I would like to turn the table over to a few people who would like to also share their thoughts.
Hi, I've been in the Ori Court since around October 2020, so I've been in the fandom as a whole for about 1,347 days so far, or around 3.69 years. Nice. Regardless, I still remember when my brother recommended me Ori and the Blind Forest. I'm still not sure what compelled me to join its Discord server, as I was very isolated at the time. As in, I only really interacted with people I knew in real life, and never really had any online friends outside of my circles. I've never interacted with someone from another part of the globe before, so it was very nerve-wracking. It took me about 6 days of lurking to finally build up enough courage to send my first message. My first message was about how I never played Terraria, and I still haven't, and its intricacies are irrelevant, but conversation after conversation, I felt more and more comfortable. Met new people, some of whom I call friends now, grew more and more comfortable putting myself out there, and grew as a person overall. After a few years of chatting in the Ori Court, I decided to focus more on other Ori-related but smaller servers as quote-unquote generations of members moved through the Ori Court. A lot of those experiences, for better or for worse, mostly better though, have grown to shape me as a person to this day, both in real life and online, and I'm sure I wouldn't be the same person as I am right now if not for my experience with the Ori Court. I hope more people can have an even better experience on the unofficial server, and farewell.
Thanks for letting me be a part of this, Wispy. I go in the community by Trasa. You probably know me if you've been in Oricor, as I'm a moderator in there. The Ori community has been one of the most influential I've ever been a part of. I have met a lot of people and mindsets. It's interesting how it began. I got Game Pass for extremely cheap, and one of the promo ads was Ori. I knew I had to play that game the moment I saw the picture, and so I did. Blind Forest was amazing and I loved every part of it. Will of the Wisp, however, had a bunch of stuff I disliked, but I still enjoyed the game. I stumbled upon Speedcore, and that was how I interacted for several months. I wasn't very active, but occasionally talked. Later, I finally joined Oricor. Unlike many other communities, I was instantly greeted and welcomed. That was very warming, and I will forever remember it. An interesting thing is that I started to experiment with Discord bots around that time, and I found Oricor had a custom bot running. I thought it would be really cool to have a server this big use your bot that you crafted. Unknown to me, the future will smile to me with that one. I've been part of many groups. KK was one of the first, with Ken, Nook, Penny, and you too, Wispy. I made some good friends there that help you all keep the place safe. Also got many fun experiences with all of you. As for Oricor, the place is not perfect. I found a bunch of bad people, but nowhere is perfect, and the good outnumber the bad, thankfully. I've never been a person to ask for things, but I still got some from different people. Knowing that someone remembered you and decided to give you something selflessly is a very special feeling that I've very rarely seen in other online places. To all of you, I remember it and will always appreciate it. Moderating, on the other hand, is not something everyone appreciates. Multiple times I hear complaints about their punishments, biased decisions. But I mean, you know that as well as you have moderated too, Wispy. It can be tiring sometimes, but even with people that would always be against mods like in any community, there were also others that were really nice, I will say for the most part. There were very positive vibes and even a lot of fun stuff. Oricor is the only big server I'm active in. The other servers I'm active in are small friend groups, and well, Oricor was a place where I got many of those friends that I still talk to these days. Another thing is that multiple times I will read that people like me as a mod. The random things I got were pretty nice, and it's those people that make you want to continue and improve. I added games to worry about because of that, and also because of the extra flexibility that I have with the new server. Another good thing is that this community was incredibly welcoming and helpful with the games and tried to guide players in a way that still lets them discover the results by themselves. This is very important for story-based games, and let's not forget about the artistic part of the community. There's everything: music, drawings, writing, and an interesting part is that all of it is getting attention, even writing. I sure enjoy listening to Haven's Retro and also yours, Wispy. Where is it? I'm waiting for it. As for now, I find it pretty nice to still be open into the community with the bot and having groups to be part of. To every friend that I have, I wish you the best and to continue forward just as we did for years.
I joined the Ori Court back in September of 2022, a few days after Will of the Wisps came out on Switch. I was in love with the game, especially on repeat playthroughs, so joining the community was an absolute must for me. While the art channels and general discussion were nice from time to time, what really caught my attention was discussing the games, though I didn't care too much about the story, art direction, or lore. I was really all about the gameplay. I often share clips and talk to others about silly things I had done. It was really fun seeing other people's reaction to the kind of crazy stuff you could do in Will of the Wisps. Some people eventually started catching on to my antics and joined on in. We formed a small little community, people who loved to mess around in Will of the Wisps. We had Bev, Sun Ninja, Kazama Pilot, and most notably Dash, just to name a few. We'd all share our discoveries and discuss applications of them all the time. Eventually we even planned some crazy challenge runs, including one that got 100% completion without Bash and another with nearly all the items, but we only had Sword and Sentry as the available wheel abilities. It just felt so amazing to do those runs, as we were working as a team and making some truly groundbreaking discoveries. It gave me a sense of satisfaction and joy that I haven't really had anywhere else. I have all those incredible friends I met in the Ori court to thank for it.
It was Rivals of Aether that led me to the Ori franchise and, Ori court in general, because I had played that game and was having a lot of fun playing as Ori, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go play these games for myself, finally, because they had been in my wishlist for a long time now. But eventually I got to playing them, and Blind Forest clearly became one of my favorite games of all time, and it's kind of hard for a game to do that on first playthrough, but you know what? Blind Forest managed to do it. It was mere days, I think, after I beat Blind Forest that I joined OriCore, but I would lurk in there for up to 2022 because, big servers scare me, and they still do scare me, but still. I played Will o' the Wisps eventually when I came out, and it's kind of funny because I remember that weekend was like basically the weekend the world shut down, so I basically had Animal Crossing and Will o' the Wisps to keep me company, but Will o' the Wisps kind of just quickly matched Blind Forest for me, and that was just kind of surprising to me because I didn't expect them to knock it out of the park like they did. And it was during the pandemic where I would start to draw, but I don't think I would really truly hit my stride until I finally started drawing Ori. And I had been speaking to Zavi. Some of you may not know her, some of you may not, but she kind of is the reason why I am in Ori Spaces in the first place. She had shown me her Spirit OC, and I was kind of surprised because oh, people actually make OCs out of these things, so I quickly got to working on making my own. I mean, in 2021, you could say that I had started to become an Ori artist, but it wasn't until 2022 that I genuinely started interacting with the community, and that includes OriCord itself, because I had mentioned before that I had lurked for the longest time. I was just storing fan art in my hard drive and just looking around seeing what people were making, and all of it was just absolutely amazing, to be honest. People seemed to like it at first, and, I quickly sought out side servers because, OriCord still scared me, but, I still wanted to post there somewhat often. That kind of led me to two servers in particular, Chimera Club and NovaCord, both of which are in an archival state now as with OriCord very soon, but those two servers helped me get situated and find my audience, I know people will have their takes about the current state of the Ori community and where it's going and everything and the quality of the people and everything, but honestly, regardless of that, even if I have my own takes on it, is that I am genuinely so happy that I got to participate. I say that as if it's going away, it's not, and I'm still going to be here, but still, OriCord especially, I have that server to thank for kind of being the catalyst for so many of my friendships. I've met so many beautiful people that I cannot understate that. And again, I don't know where I would be without OriCord itself. Maybe participating in a different fandom, I don't know. I bought Rain World in 2021, maybe that's a viable option. But regardless of such, I am going to miss that server. No matter how many people say, oh, good riddance to it, I am going to miss it, seriously. Regardless of whether or not they were active in OriCore, or they posted Ori art on Twitter, or they gave me an art of my spirit during Art Fight, I have met and talked to so many people that I just look up to now, and I don't think anything is going to take that away. I guess wherever the community will gravitate towards now, I will still be around these spaces, that's for sure. Until something really and truly pulls me away, I don't think I'm going to leave these spaces for good, that's for sure. There's so much that I want to go over, but you know what, for the sake of time, I think I'm just going to end it here. So thank you to Microsoft and Moon Studios and everyone who set up the official OriCord. It has been an honor to join this community, and I can only hope that it keeps going in the future. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Creative Gamer. The OriCord's been probably the most influential and inspirational place for me. When I joined it all the way back in 2019, I never thought I'd make the friends that I have, make the art that I have, Like, it was one of the reasons why I'm so in love with the internet, with Ori as a whole. It got me out of my shell, and honestly, joining the first VC in OriCord was the best decision of my life. I said this in my love letter. Without Ori, there wouldn't be Ames, no Humi or Steve. Like, me getting into game design would be a phase, as well as content creation, which I haven't acted on. I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be the Moki I am today. I'm glad I decided on a whim to play the Ori games. Well, Ori game back then, but still, I'm gonna miss the Ori server. I think that's about everything. There's only one thing left to say. The Latin Hearts.
From here on out, I will be reading text responses sent by Discord users who didn't want to use their voice.
Hey, I'm Blue, the one with the Blue Jay profile pic. Blue Salient is my full name. I was most active between 2019 and 2021, but I still poke around every now and then. As for you, Wispy, I still remember everyone calling you Red. That's how long I've been around. At this point, the Ori community feels like a distant dream to me. It's like an absolutely magical piece of music you used to binge over and over again. But eventually, one day you just found yourself skipping it because it just doesn't hit the same. And yet, you are absolutely certain that it used to be amazing. Similar to how our music tastes change alongside life, my priorities are a lot different now, and I even find some of my desires silly from back then. However, I basically grew up with this community, and I suppose now is better than never to share my overdue thanks and thoughts. It starts with thanking everybody for all the nerdy conversations and gushing about the game. Thank you to all the artists, writers, and creators for all the inspiration. I've never seen so many people become inspired to create. Thank you to all the budding and beginner artists for being brave and sharing your attempts and also encouraging other people to try. Thank you to all the lurkers who rarely spoke up or maybe just reacted to messages. Every droplet and ripple contributes to the community atmosphere. I notice you. And thanks to everybody who might have just been there to chat, screw around, or be creative in their own way. Just seeing familiar names can be nostalgic. I agree. Thank you to everybody who played this beautiful, kindness-inspiring game, for coming together and creating a safe space to share thoughts that we couldn't anywhere else. I remember another member once roughly said, "It was like we were blood brothers or something." You know, I felt it too. It was truly special, and nope, I've never found anywhere like it ever again. I guess that's where it differs from music. I didn't come across another one that scratched quite the same itch. Now, that sounded corny as frick. Let's shake ourselves awake from the dream. It's a good idea to do so occasionally. Honestly, do I think we were a bit melodramatic at times? Yes. Do I think some of my actions and desires from before, like the FOMO from being not as talented, was silly? Yes. But if it really was just a silly dream, which is imaginary, I probably wouldn't be playing the same games right now. I wouldn't be listening to the same music. I wouldn't understand the appeal of art. And I wouldn't have the same friends as now. I would have been on a different path altogether, along with so many other people who have said the same. Thank you, everybody, for showing me that magical places and experiences are real, for keeping that spark in me alive. And thank you, Wispy, for doing this memoir video. I've always been in awe of your passion for the community.
You're just gonna make me blush. You're welcome, and I just, what can I say? I love these games.
OriChord is something near and dear to my heart. It really allowed me to be more expressive, to be able to learn more about art, and really give myself a passion to be happy with. Although there are some bumps here and there, I've had good and bad experiences. I don't really have ill will to the community at large. I owe a lot to the server, giving me some great friends and allowing me to grow as a person. I love creating stuff, and I love sharing that stuff with others. If I never got into Ori and never joined that server, well, I wouldn't say my life would be ruined, but it would have gone down a very different path. I do think people I've met and the connections I've made have been the most important things to me, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So, basically, I feel I love this community. It has its flaws, like any other. Sometimes I felt like it was a madhouse, but I've met many cool and talented pals there. And all that drama can't vary all the gratitude I have for all the people I met there. I learned so much, and I was even able to learn English there and get some art skills, and found there what I would like to do with my life. It's like a roller coaster, a very worthy and fun one. Wisp, I'm sorry about leaving OriChord so soon. I didn't have many experiences there, but I did have a massive experience even just as I passed through. I met my best friend through there, and we helped each other through incredibly tough times. To this day, she and I still talk all the time, and without her, I might not even be alive today.
And thank you, Ori, for being a caring light for us all.